So according to Forrester Research, which is like a leading research firm, better UX design could yield conversion by 400%.
Wow.
So if you think about it, bad design is expensive, right? So investing in these CRO tools actually is an investment for your future. In fashion UX or even beauty, right? It's a balance of aspiration and abandoned cart, right? In fashion, nothing is data driven. Again, like the misconception about designers just making things look good. Well, we make things work and we make things perform. 95% of consumers will look for reviews before purchasing an item, right? Now, if there are images and video, UGC content, the lift is 104% conversion.
Hello all, and welcome back to the Corner Office, where I invite guests who rock my world. And of course, the only agenda is for us to learn together. Today, I've brought drama. I've brought style. Essentially, my guest is the founder and operator of this design studio. And she's worked with brands like Chanel, Hermes, GameStop, Canada Goose, and more. Her key strength is in maximizing conversion for these top global brands. And I can't wait to bring her on and to have, again, all of us learn from her. Jenn, thank you so much for being here and welcome.
Thank you very much. Hello, Rachel.
Hello. So like I was just saying, you've worked with top brands. But before we get there, I want us as an audience and also for myself to have a better idea of where you come from. So can you tell us a little bit about your parents, how they raised you, and how that's influenced your journey as an entrepreneur yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was born and raised in Toronto to two Vietnamese parents that, were refugees from the Vietnam War. My parents were entrepreneurs. They're retired now, so we own a couple businesses, and, it's really inspiring for me to see them because when they came here, they didn't speak English. My dad was a busboy, my mom was a seamstress, and then they worked their way up, and now they're here, and I'm here, and
did they encourage your creativity from the get-go, or did that kind of evolve over time?
So, I mean, my mom was a seamstress, so, fashion was sort of like in the household, but like every Asian immigrant parent, they wanted you to become like a doctor or a pharmacist. That was like, for me, it was like, okay, Jen, you're going to be a pharmacist.
Oh, okay.
Like pharmacist.
Fashionable pharmacist.
Yes, but make it fashion, right? I was actually enrolled in an AP science program, and I had taken a graphic design course, and that sort of derailed my parents' dreams of me being a pharmacist. And I had eventually dropped out of the program because I just loved typography and I loved Lady Gaga. My dream was to work in fashion at that point, move to New York, dream big. And that was all because, of seeing my parents' hard work, resilience, perseverance. And yeah, so after that, I somehow landed at York for design.
York University.
York University for design, which is actually surprisingly one of the top programs in the world for design. And so that made my parents really happy and, sort of bet on my future. Funny enough, this story is a classic in my family, but part of proving them wrong or proving to them that I could do this for the rest of my life was, okay, I'm going to land an internship every single year. One of the internships I landed, it was in second year in Paris. So that gig allowed me to work with Chanel.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, and I was like 20 at the time. But before that, I had gotten the offer and I went downstairs and I told my dad, I was like, hey, Dad, by the way, I'm going to Paris this summer. He's like, what? Paris? Why? And I said, because I landed an internship. He's like, where are you living? I don't know yet. Do you speak French? No. What? When are you going?
And his ethos of survival ambition, do you think that in a way pushed you to be that risky and bold?
Yes, exactly. So it was like a dad-daughter moment when he was like, he's like, where are you going? And I was like, listen, if you came to this country and you didn't speak a word of English, I can go to France and not know a word of French.
Yeah.
And so that's where it started.
Got it. Okay, so cool. You basically kind of proved your parents wrong via landing these internships.
Right.
What was the reception to you as you were building your career in design? And when you were feeling support, maybe even non-support from your family and friends, what kind of kept you going and pushing as you grew your career?
Well, to be honest, my parents didn't really understand what I did, and up until a couple of years ago, they thought I was actually studying fashion or like
because you worked primarily with fashion brands.
Exactly, I specialize in fashion brands. But for them, it was like, okay, well, she's really happy doing it. She, like gets a consistent salary, so just let her be. She looks like she knows what she's doing, so we'll continue to support her.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't understand like the caliber of like
right
the clients that I was working with.
Right.
Until later on.
Yeah, and you're like, this is a show and tell of who I've worked with.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Exactly.
So let's kind of dig deeper. As I mentioned, you've worked with pretty big, impactful brands. Tell us a little bit more about who they are and what you actually did for them.
Yeah, so I think one of my first projects was working with Chanel Beauty, building out an interactive magazine. And at the time, that was super, super innovative. Now we call it parallax scrolling, but at the time, it was just interactive.
How long ago was that?
Oh, this was like in 2012.
Okay, got it. So that's why you're saying it's innovative.
It was innovative at the time. Now everything is parallax and animated, but at the time, like HTML and CSS wasn't as advanced or accessible in terms of motion graphics for the web. But now it is, gratefully. But yeah, so that was really fun. That was a career, that was like a big milestone for me because that was when I learned motion. I actually learned motion graphics by myself. One thing about design in Paris or design in Europe versus North America at the time was that, in Europe, they really, really focus on the beauty of it, like the artistry of it. Usability, not so much there. But North America, really big focus on usability. Artistic direction, not exactly there. So after working on that project, I was like, okay, I'm on a mission. My mission for design is to make interactive designs that are beautiful and convert.
Oh, so we're gonna get there. It's juicy. my questions, my notes are gonna get there. But before we do, and I like that you kind of rewinded time back for us a little bit. You took us back to 2012 when you kind of started off your career. Mm-hmm. But what kind of common digital challenges are these brands having then and now?
I think definitely outlining to specific stakeholders what the business goals and the KPIs are. As designers, we don't just make things look good, we make things make sense, right? So in the world of e-commerce, in fashion, it's about looking good and making money, right? How do we make money? We need to understand the strategy of what the company is set to do for the quarter, for the year. So let's just say, for example, I am a fashion company looking to increase e-commerce conversion by 2% in the accessories category. Well, as a designer, I need to know that because then I can start iterating and thinking about, okay, well, then the approach that we should take is upselling, right? Maybe we should build components on the product page that complement outfits so that we could increase conversion and engagement in that standpoint. So I think that's something that is a challenge for some companies. We're kind of like relaying that information, truly understanding the skill sets of a designer. Mm-hmm. The other thing is, I guess, conversion rate optimization. So what that means is setting up the right tools for e-commerce websites to succeed and to improve. The thing with e-commerce is that it's not like a one and done deal, right? It's about consistently improving, testing, keeping it alive.
I love that you mentioned that because it's not just we did it, we're done. It's constant.
It's constantly. It's constantly there's heat maps involved, there's analytics tools. We record everything that you do when you're on the website. The way you click, the way you scroll, how you move your mouse, that is all recorded so that we could sell you more stuff.
So you're not just a designer, it sounds like. You're doing things beyond what, in my mind, a web designer is traditionally.
Yeah, so I would say that, I think that a true designer understands strategy. Because again, our role is about problem solving, right? We don't just make things look good, we find solutions to problems. And so for me, strategy is just so exciting because I'm always looking for ways to solve problems. And whether it be visually or thinking about features, it's just, e-com is just super fun.
So like I just said, you're wearing multiple hats. You're a strategist when it comes to being a successful designer. How did you figure out what skills to pick up? Because the design umbrella is large. So when you earlier talked about how you taught yourself motion graphics. Why motion graphics then? What are you teaching yourself now? And how do you find the time to keep teaching yourself things?
If something matters to you, you'll find the time to make it happen. That's sort of been my life motto. How I got into conversion rate optimization is simply because it's the only way for you to quantify designs, right? It's like you launch a design and you test it, and all of a sudden it brings $1 million. Wow. What type of feeling is that? It's amazing, right? It's more than a feeling. I think, again, the misconception about designers just making things look good. Well, we make things work and we make things perform. And so with that, I started learning about, heat map analysis and looking through Google Analytics and kind of thinking more of a product manager, which is, I would also say, is a strategist. So that's sort of how I got started in wearing many hats. It's just the ability to quantify designs.
Okay, so I also am curious to know what design skills you're picking up lately.
So now I'm less of an IC, individual contributor. And I have my own company, so I'm the head of design. I oversee everything. So for me, so there's a design team that focuses on the visuals. And then for me, I continue with the strategy work, specifically around conversion rate optimization. So how we do that, what I do is I actually look at AI tools right now to see how we can better understand, fashion brands' customers so that we can optimize for conversion in that way. So yeah.
I'm curious also to learn, especially for folks who are just learning about conversion.
Right.
What does that mean?
So I guess I would say that there are two kind of terms that you should know, or we should know. One, which is e-commerce conversion rate, which is the amount of orders placed on an online store. Sorry, percentage.
Okay. Order or percentage of orders?
Percentage of orders placed on an online store.
Okay.
And then there's conversion rate, which is the total number of visitors that are performing a specific task in a given time. So an example is signing up for an email subscription within a month's time. So that's how we would measure conversion.
So one is more focused on how much you sell, your product or service.
Correct.
The other is, how would you define that?
Specific tasks in the user journey.
Within the website.
Correct. Online store, yeah.
Or online store. What do you think, it takes to be relevant and capable in the industry? We've kind of brushed over it a little bit. I think keyword here is being strategic with the clients you serve. But among the sea of designers, how are you going to keep your clients sticky?
In the fashion world, you just have to get it. I think that, so this is how I explain working in fashion UX. In fashion UX, or even beauty, right, it's a balance of aspiration and abandoned cart, right? In fashion, nothing is data-driven. What does data-driven mean? Data-driven is when design decisions are led by data. In fashion, we are data-informed. What does that mean? that means that we have data presented to us, and then we might use it, right? It depends on how we feel that day, maybe.
Okay.
So that means is that, let's say you have a campaign image. How can you quantify that? You can't quantify something that's cool. It's cultural impact. It's just like, you can't put, you have to decide, right? So for example, if a green button performs better than a black button, then we're going to choose the green button, right? Fashion, on the other hand, is not like that. Fashion is all about what's on brand or essentially cool, right? So for example, in this button example, if there is a green button that outperforms the black button, well, if the black button is the brand color, then we're going to go with the black one.
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay, because at first I was like, what do you mean by
all these buttons?
Data informed?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, not just because something performs better when it comes to the world of fashion does not mean that it's actually going to be what the company or the designer ultimately goes with.
Exactly.
And is that because it has to have a certain look?
Yes.
Feel?
It's about aspiration.
That's what it comes to. What do you mean by that? It comes down to aspiration.
What cool is and who people want to resonate with in terms of brand, like why they want to associate with the brand.
Now, in today's world, 2024, well, late 2024, moving into 2025, what kind of clients are successful when it comes to converting customers online?
95% of consumers will look for reviews before purchasing an item, right? Now, if there are images and video, UGC content, the lift is 104% conversion. Like if the user were to interact with the content. Unreal. So like for me, customer reviews isn't a trend, it's a necessity for brands to convert or maximize conversion. The other thing that I would say is leveraging AI. I mean, AI is just getting more advanced. I see in 2025 it being hyper-personalized more than ever for consumers.
What does that mean?
So that means that recommendations are just going to be a lot more intelligent. They're going to know way better like what types of items that you're going to be interested in. And then they're also going to be surfacing content like editorial content, images, video, inspiration that you will possibly buy into. So imagine like Instagram, but for an e-commerce site.
I'm also curious about how you balance artistic goals, artistic choice with goals related to being data informed and optimization. How do you do that?
So essentially you start with two designs. So you have option 1 and option 2. We do this thing called A/B testing. So that means you have a minimum of 2 designs and then you set a conversion goal, right? Let's just say one of them is like which one has a higher click-through rate for this specific button? Let's say add to cart, right? We run it through a test. What does the test do? The test takes the traffic onto the website, splits it into 2. In this scenario, we have 2 designs, and then see which one performs better. So that's where you would balance artistic direction with data.
Gotcha. My next question kind of goes into giving us real examples. So can you share a before and after story of a brand?
Yeah, absolutely. I can't specify exactly
That's okay.
which brand, but it's a multi-million-dollar global fashion brand that you'll see at every luxury store. I was the design lead on bottom of the funnel, so that is cart and checkout. After the redesign of it, there was a 12% increase in e-commerce conversion, which means orders placed.
Making money.
Making money, essentially. That was like a huge milestone moment for me because imagine like a multi-million-dollar company, like hundreds of millions of dollars, 12% increase. Hey, I'm not that great at math, but like again, the whole idea, like, this is why I love my work so much, is that you're able to quantify your designs in that way.
Well, what did you do for that brand that made them, kind of have that uptick of 12%?
I optimized for the user. I did the whole process of conversion rate optimization. I looked at the current state of the design. I looked at all the heat maps, the analytics to see what was, like going wrong. Why was the drop off why was there such a huge like cart abandonment rate? I think at the time there had to be like 8 steps to check out.
So you minimize those steps? It was one of
the
things you did?
We minimize it to 3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We optimized the forms, so we reduced the amount of like text boxes that you had to fill out. Because that brand, they had in the lifetime of a customer for that brand, they'll only purchase 1 item. So what we also did was we optimized it for guest checkout. So the whole idea, most brands don't do this, right? Most brands will require you to sign in so that they can capture your email, so they can send you more marketing content, right? Retargeting if you abandon cart. We decided to not do that, which was very risky for marketing team because we wanted that customer to have an amazing experience so that they can potentially come back again. So just like small things like that really, I think, helped with the purchasing journey.
I'm curious about what other lessons folks at home could take away from this. If I'm somebody who has an e-commerce business on the side, because we all need to hustle out here nowadays, what kind of concepts, what kind of lessons can you teach us for us to, in a way, practice for our own businesses from home?
Invest in conversion rate optimization tools. There are affordable ones out there. I would check out Crazy Egg. Crazy Egg gives you the option to create heat maps, scroll maps, A/B testing, all of it in one. I think it's maybe $100 a month or something. But get this. So according to Forrester Research, which is a leading research firm, better UX design could yield conversion by 400%.
Wow.
So if you think about it, bad design is expensive, right? So investing in these CRO tools actually is an investment for your future.
I love that. I mean, look, when I get onto a website and it's not just ugly, but it's clearly like a templated website, it immediately turns me off. Not saying that templated websites are bad.
Yeah.
But you can clearly see there has been no investment.
Right. Yeah. But hey, I come from the belief that progress over perfection, right? At least you just get started on something, right? Get started on it. And then once it's out, then you can start testing it, iterating on it, launching it again, constant improvements. So for me, when it comes to UX, just get it 90% there, 90% of your vision. Why? Because then you can see if your design decisions convert.
Now, what are, I would say, almost 3 design principles for solopreneurs, for, again, people watching from home, for them to keep in mind? If, let's say, right now, maybe they can't hire somebody like you, but they want to understand, like you said, progress over perfection, where can they get started when it comes to good design?
Well, that's actually number 1, which is progress over perfection, is just to get started and know that there's no such thing as perfect. There's always progress. So I would say that's number 1. Number 2 is decision paralysis. When there are too many elements on a page, users don't know where to look at. They're like, where do I start? There's no hierarchy, right? So for me, it's about simplifying so that the user can focus on what we are intending them to do.
Mm-hmm. So you've got, in my mind, I think 1 key color when I think color, and then 2 non-primary colors. Would you say that that's a good rule to go by?
Yeah. Or I would say if there are 10 components on a page where you only need 3, keep it at 3. Mm-hmm. Why have 10?
Mm-hmm. Now, design, like I mentioned earlier, for me personally, is a very broad term. Mm-hmm. I think of colors, I think of typography. What other things kind of fall under that design umbrella when it comes to designing a website?
I would say, okay, so that we have the visual elements, so color, typography. I would say ADA compliancy. There are really strict rules when it comes to like legalities, right? It's a liability. You can get sued a lot of money from it, and it's funny because going back to fashion, right? Fashion kind of just doesn't really have any rules. So in my experience, a lot of fashion brands get sued for not being ADA compliant. So in my studio, we make sure that, I mean, hey, if you don't want to follow accessibility, we're letting you know what's accessible. But if you don't want to follow it, well then it's not on us.
You also have a advisory thing going on for yourself. Tell us about that when it comes to startups that you're advising for.
Yeah, so this was a new development in my life. So I have a studio, but I also advise for a tech incubator out of Toronto. Very, very exciting group of startups. So everything from AI, prop tech, a gaming platform for kids to learn how to code. It's actually very refreshing. I've wanted to take some time to breathe from fashion for a while. So it's nice to get back into the startup world and just explore more industries.
Now, when you say, startup versus working for heritage brands, how does your advisory strategy differ between those two different groups or industries?
So startups operate at hyperspeed because they're racing against time. They have limited resources. They have limited time because they need to go to market first or go to market fast so that they can prove to investors, potential investors, that their idea works. Some have limited funding. So that means that the design approach is very different. Again, progress over perfection. Because of limited resources, design necessarily isn't always important. It's about functionality and features.
I'm curious also about common mistakes that brands make that hinder them away from conversion.
Not getting it out fast enough, not launching fast enough. Because if once you launch, you should be testing and you should be iterating. And the longer you wait, the more missed opportunities.
Now, is there a point of, okay, this is it, we're going to leave it? Or is it always, no, this can be better and better and better?
Absolutely. I mean, people's shopping behaviors change all the time, right? So we need to continue to figure out what those are to continue to reach those audiences and to understand how people shop.
And typically, do you, at your studio, but also in your past life working in-house, have other teams to help you with studying shopping behavior, or is it something that a designer takes on themselves?
So usually it's like there's a separate CRO team, conversion rate optimization team, or marketing growth team that handles it. But for me, or at least at the studio, strategy is everything. Designing with intention is everything. So you wear a lot of hats, and we're also we're fairly new. So anyone that joins the team has to wear
multiple hats.
Yeah.
And that's like a given, or almost you disclose that right away.
Yeah, I write in the contract too. But what's really great about everyone that works at the studio is like they're so much fun and they're equally as passionate about data and like visual design and motion graphics as I am. I mean, the reason why it takes me a long time to hire is like I have to really build a relationship with you before I bring you on. So we have a designer. They have been someone that I've been eyeing for a long time, and I finally got them to join, and they're working.
Congrats.
Yeah.
Is it different from your chief of staff?
Different.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah.
Now I want to, as we wrap it up here, I want to go kind of full circle to where we started, which is about your family's entrepreneurial spirit. Nowadays, because you own your own business now, what do your parents tell you? What kind of advice do they tell you as you grow the company?
Patience. I have no patience. Like I want things to succeed, and everything to be done like right now. But for them, it's like, Jenn, as much as we want you to succeed, you have to be realistic, and building a company takes time. The first year is going to be the hardest. I can't even tell you how many times I've pivoted this year with the company. Like, our business model and our USP has changed so many times. But now I'm like super happy with it because I'm seeing that this is a need.
You're seeing people listen to you, come along on the pitch, and they convert.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Mm-hmm. Now, one of the reasons why you impressed me when we met some time ago is because of how you also personally brand yourself. Oh. Any tips on how you do it through social media that, again, viewers can take away from?
Just be the most authentic version of you. Like, the more honest and real with yourself. Like, I think everyone is deeply different. They just need to have the confidence to let it shine.
Mm-hmm. Well, listen, when I was in high school, that would not have resonated. As I get older, it does resonate. Yeah. Before we go, like, are there any, especially for the designers out there, but also non-designers, any trends, anything that you think is coming up as we move into the new year? We talked about it a little earlier, but I want to hone in on things that we can watch out for.
Are you talking about trends in e-commerce, or?
It could be e-commerce, or it could be non-e-commerce as well. But I'm really curious to pick your brain from like a design perspective. What kind of trends can we look out for, but also maybe even like leverage to use to our benefit if we're selling something?
I think the AI tools for like the fashion retail industry are just, it's like so exciting to see. Like, for example, I had met with a startup from Collision, a conference in Toronto this year, and they were building a way to essentially help brands reduce costs on photo shoots. So what you do is you select a model, you give them the catalog, your brand catalog, and then what it does is it will take the clothing item and place it on the model. And then so the whole idea is that you wouldn't have to hire like 10 models, 10 stylists, rent a studio like 10 times. You can just do it once.
With an AI model?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Using AI.
Do you think that people are going to be more receptive to AI models, AI celebrities over time? Or do you think that, no, it's more of a fad?
They have to. It's here, and it's just going to get better.
Okay.
Embrace the future.
Embrace the change.
And change.
Actually, that reminds me of one question I had for you too is there are people out there, probably a large chunk of people, that look at AI tools and are afraid. Mm-hmm. I've heard of a number of stories when it comes to designers who have been almost replaced by AI. What's your word of wisdom, if any, for people that instead of being afraid should adapt?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to lie. When I first heard it, I kind of freaked out a little bit too. But then once I started using it, I was like, wait, no, I can't be replaced. Why? Because I think that AI tools are really good with production, right? So it's like creating a button faster, like in the files, or like helping you with research. Like at the end of the day, like, you're the decision maker. These tools are here to help accelerate the process. I think that in order for you to survive this like AI wave, you have to be a strategic thinker. Mm-hmm. Like for me, like I love perplexity. I leverage perplexity for all my research. What's great about that is that it also has annotations, so I can fact check. And exactly, that's my point. My point is that because you're the decision maker, you get to choose like what information makes sense. You can't depend on AI all the time. So that's why I think designers like can't be replaced.
You're also expanding beyond fashion clients to non-fashion clients. Can you tell us a little bit more about who they are?
So we are currently working with a vitamins brand that has like thousands of reviews on Amazon, and they're looking to go DTC. So
what's DTC?
Direct to consumer. So that's exciting. Others you'll have to stay tuned for. But what's exciting is that these are all startups. And I love working with startups because it's like what's better than helping someone see their potential?
Oh, I love that. That's so sweet.
Yeah, and I think that's the reason why I had opportunities to go back into corporate fashion. And I love corporate fashion, don't get me wrong. Like, I love big brands. But you also got to support the little guys too, right? They have dreams.
Mm-hmm. Lots of little guys have design issues. Great ideas, but needs to look good and needs to be functional.
And make money.
And make money. On that note, Jenn, thank you for being here and for just giving us everything under the sun during this time about design.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Our viewers can find Jenn on Instagram, Jenn.CA. I'll make sure to link it if you want to follow Jenn. And also Jenn.studio if you want to go check out our website. My name is Rachel. Thank you for watching The Corner Office, and we'll see you in another episode with another great guest. Bye.